Well, while everyone is still hopping on and sharing where you're from, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself and tell you a little bit about the Vegan Earth Day March before I hand it over to Chelsea and then Michelle. So for those of you who I don't know, I'm Serena Farb, one of the co-founders and co-organizers of the Vegan Earth Day March, and we are just 3 weeks away. We have about 40 cities around the world now from almost 18 countries that are all organizing events, marching, protesting, rallying, outreach events on Earth Day. So that's in just 3 weeks. So if you are not currently an organizer, you can go check out our website. We have a map of events. You can see where all of they are. If there's one in your area, like look up their event on Facebook, on our Facebook page, or information on the website, and connect with them, get out, attend. If there isn't one in your area, we have an organizer application form on our website that you can fill out as well. And I'll chat with you about, if you have time and the capacity to organize. So anyway, we are really, really excited. And we have 3 main demands that we are all going to sort of be marching and rallying behind. And that's, for individuals to go vegan, for governments to end subsidies and bailouts of the meat and dairy industry to level the playing field. And then finally, for city, local governments, institutions to endorse the plant-based treaty and take action on the plant-based treaty. So that is the background. And so, we're going to be providing the training today to really help people that are interested in learning how to communicate more effectively at Vegan Earth Day marches, protests. But of course, we welcome everyone, and we hope that this information will carry over to whatever activism you are doing. So that's me, Serena, and I'm going to turn it over to Chelsea now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chelsea Davis with Veggies Do It Better and the other co-founder and co-organizer of the very first International Vegan Earth Day March. I see a lot of people from Portland here and lots of my friends. So hi, everybody. So excited. Lots of new people and people that are currently organizing. And those of you who aren't potentially organizing, we just hit 40 cities, which we had a goal of 30, 35 for this first year. So the fact that we hit 40 is really exciting. And half of those are out of North America, of US and Canada. So that's even more exciting that we have representation in countries all over the world, because this really is a worldwide issue. Like even with, I'll just mention really quick, the Farm Bill is currently being written in the US. You can go to our Facebook page and we have some information on how you can submit testimony or comment for the House. The Senate unfortunately closed their comments early on Friday, which wasn't surprising, but that's just how it goes. But there'll be other opportunities. But having said that, the Farm Bill really affects the whole world and how it's written and how it's set up. So the more that we can do to put pressure on our government, even if we are outside of the US, putting pressure on the US government, the better. And that is included in our demands, like Serena said, and that goes with plant-based treaty and getting governments on the local level up into a federal level to make these systems changes. And with that, how we communicate and talk to our governments or our legislature or people on the street or our family, it really matters how we use our words and how we present ourselves and how we're interacting. And so I'm very excited to have Michelle here to teach us about nonviolent communication and mindful communication, because it really is so vital in every aspect of our life, not just with activism, but in our relationships too. So really happy to have everybody here. This is being recorded and it will be it'll be posted on my YouTube, Veggies Do It Better. So if you want to rewatch, which I'm sure a lot of us will want to, or if you want to recommend that, if you're an organizer and you want your teams to watch it, or maybe your network or somebody in your life to learn these skills as well, you can direct them there. And then we also have all of our past trainings on there, which include, we've done so many trainings. We've done trainings on how to promote your event with press releases and media alerts. Again, this is not just for the march, but for any kind of activism event you're doing. We've done Know Your Rights trainings. We actually have another Know Your Rights training coming up, and we have some other events coming up that we'll talk about at the end. But right now I want to introduce Michelle. Michelle is the founder of I Love Balance and Mindful Communication, based on NVC, and an NVC instructor for Animal Safe Movement and Plant-Based Treaty. As a full-time coach, Michelle focuses on teaching and leading by example on how to live a vegan lifestyle and why it's important to do activism. Michelle loves to help others understand themselves on a deeper level beyond movement and help improve their communication, which inevitably strengthens their relationships. You can learn more about her work at ilovebalance.com, which I'll also put in the chat, and view her recent modules on effective communication for animal safe movement and plant-based treaty on the Plant-Based Treaty YouTube, which I'll also put in the chat in a second. So take it away, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. And I'm so excited to see so many lovely faces or screens. And so let me, I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Let me just do this here. I'm going to go into current slide. Let me just bring this here like this. Oh, okay. Let me do something really quickly. It was behaving a little bit weirdly. Maybe because I've had my computer on for too long. Give me 5 seconds, everyone. Bear with me here as I pull up the presentation again. In my PowerPoint. All right. No, don't do this to me. It's always like that, I swear to God. Technology for me. Let me see. Come. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? I swear I have a whole amazing presentation for y'all. I'm not making it up right now. I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and then I'm going to go back in without this, because that might be the reason why it's acting weird. Give me 5 seconds or a minute. You know, I'm being generous with 5 seconds. Why is it doing this to me? Isn't it just Murphy's Law? And it really doesn't want to load, y'all. This is so weird. I don't know why this is happening. Let me X a whole bunch of stuff out here. I'm going to give it one more try, and if it doesn't work, I'm literally just going to go through. I remember most of my presentation anyway, so I'll go through it very. Oh, it's opening.
In incognito.
And then I'm wondering if I can make it, a part of me is like, maybe I don't make it big. Let me see. Yeah, that's what's happening. Is it's when I'm trying to expand it, it acts weird and it doesn't work. It just blanks out my whole screen.
What about closing all of your other tabs or other programs on your computer?
Yeah, let me do that, which I don't have that many. I'm actually pretty good with that. I'm a little bit anal with the organization on my computer.
I always have like 50 tabs open.
I know, that's the thing, is I'm so not, I've got like 4 or 5, and it's like the ones I have to access, you know, but yeah. I just closed everything. It's already working. So I'm not going to expand it. I'm going to keep it smaller. Just so that it doesn't do that again.
Michelle, I have an idea. While you're trying to get the presentation together, would it make sense for us to maybe do a quick go around and see if people have experience with NVC? But I see you got your presentation, so never mind.
I do like that idea, though, to be honest. Like, I actually would love that idea. So let me just stop the share for a second. And I think that at the end of the day, like, community and just knowing who is in the room would make a lot difference. So let's start with you. go ahead and please tell us a little bit about yourself real quick. And if you have experience with NVC, and then very similar to what we do when we're in our PBT meetings with the animal save, you could pass it on to the next person and we'll just keep introducing ourselves. Let's try to spend no more than like a minute or so just saying like, hi, who we are and what kind of experience we have with NVC.
Sounds great. Thank you. My name is Faramars. I know that's a kind of a tough name. It's kind of like Faramir from The Lord of the Rings. I live in Los Angeles. I've been vegan for over 23 years and participated here and there in various animal rights vigils. And I have taken NVC classes on and off for, more than a decade. And I'm happy to share some info about free NVC classes that are available if people are interested once we're wrapping this session up. And I will pass it to, I see Serena Farb has herself on the screen. So how about you?
I already introduced myself. I think you hadn't jumped on yet, but thank you. I have done a few NVC trainings or workshops, not done them. I've been in them, learned about them. But I'm here as one of the co-organizers today. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Ray R.
Okay, thank you. I am Ray, and this is my first NVC training, and I'm looking forward to it. Been vegan 6 years now. Yeah. All right, pass it to Catherine.
Hi, Catherine here, or Kate, either one. I'm from Portland. I've been vegetarian most of my life, vegan for the last 6 years. I've never done one of these trainings, but I've done a lot of activism events, so I'm excited to hear more.
Let's pass it on to Megan. Haha. I love to see you here, by the way.
Okay, hi. I'm Megan, and I've been vegan for 5.5 years now. And I did my first Cube of Truth last night. And all I did was listen. I had, the mask on with the TV. So I was in the cube. But it was nice to hear how other people communicated because I was having a hard time like keeping my emotions out of it when my responses in my head sounded not so nice. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. I don't see who, I don't know who I should pass it on to. Why doesn't you guys pick?
Yeah, for sure. Let's pass it on to Karin or Karen. How do I say that name properly?
Hi, it's Karen, and I just got out of a Bikram hot yoga class, and I'm a sweaty mess, so I'm choosing not to be on camera for that reason. I'm not driving though, so I don't have that complication. Now, I've been vegan for almost 11 years, and I was vegetarian for many years. Before that, I grew up in Oklahoma in the middle of cattle country, and I never understood why people ate some pets and loved others, and it just never made sense. And so I've done PR and marketing, freelance writing for 100 years, and I'm kind of segueing over to health coaching and cooking videos. And I have the domain Plants Not Pills, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with that. And my company is Plant Power Productions. Oh. And this is my first training. I used to do media training in my PR world, but this is my first kind of training like this, which I have a feeling is going to be way different. That's it.
Let's pass it on to Noelle. Thanks for sharing that, Karen.
Hi, everyone. Noelle. I have been vegan for 3.5 years, and I just signed on to campaign with IP3, so I'm looking forward to that. I did do a cube back in Utah, where I'm from, in Park City during Sundance. But that was a long time ago. So I'm really looking forward to getting into more activism work. So thank you so much. And let's see, Kit B, have you gone yet?
Hi, Thank you. This is my first training. I'm looking forward to it. Relatively new to activism as well, so I'm not very confident about talking to people, so I'm hoping this will be really useful. Thanks.
And let's pass it on to Deb Thompson. And she or he might not be there right now. So let's pass it to Jane McIntosh.
Hi, I'm Jane, and I am a yoga teacher and a health coach. And one of our modules was on NVCs, and I really liked it. I find it kind of confusing and hard to really grasp. So I'm honored to be here. And I've been vegan for 5 years, and I know Chelsea and Sandra were we're kind of intermixed with our animal activism. So glad to be here, and thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. And how about Sandra?
Hi, Jane. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So I've been vegan for 6 years, and I was vegetarian for 7 before that. I've been an activist for the last 6 years, especially in the Portland area, but also in Virginia. And I actually honestly never heard this specific term, but I went through outreach training. So I'm really excited to continue learning more. Oh, and sorry, I forgot to say, and in my professional life, I'm a marketer and I create outreach for environmental outreach.
Wow, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Sandra. I just wanted to read really quickly what Jake had said. He said his audio isn't working, but he's been vegan for 2 years and is looking forward to learning more about NVC and helping in a big way to change the world. Glad to be here. And just to sort of reinforce on what Jane was saying, I hope that I'm going to make it simpler today for everyone to understand and not so complicated, and you'll be able to take all those tools. And again, kind of as Chelsea and Serena mentioned, the recording is going to be there too, so you could always rewatch it, pause, and like I'm giving a bit of homework in there and stuff like that. So let me pass it on to Rebecca Knowles.
Hi everyone, I'm not turning my camera on because I have Sunday hair today. So been a vegan about 15 years. I met Serena through the Peaceable Kingdom film a few years ago. So I think Serena's amazing. I run Vegan Outreach Scotland. I'm the founder of Vegan Outreach Scotland. So, and we also do Save Vigils here in Scotland. So we do street outreach and activism. So I hope I do nonviolent communication, even though I've never actually been to a training on it, but I've had some training through Earthlings and other things like that, and the Cube of Truth and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to tonight. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Rebecca. Okay, Jane took her hand down. I thought she was asking a question, but nope. And let's pass it on to Hoshimi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hoshimi. I'm from Tbilisi, Georgia. And I've been vegan for about 11 years. And I've pretty much no experience with NVC, so I'm really looking forward to it. Has anybody else not gone yet?
I think Tanya. We have Tanya and Jennifer left right now. Yeah. So let's go with Jennifer. I saw her kind of unmute herself.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. Everyone calls me JJ. I am going to be coming up on 4 years vegan on April 5th, so it's coming up soon. I'm excited about that. And I don't know why I remember the date so well. And I do, I studied psychology in school, so it really resonates with me. This is my first training. So I did just do a certification with We Did It Health, and I have a couple of theories like I use to communicate, but I'm really excited to learn more. And I have a couple of YouTube shows that I do. So I kind of was just really passionate about, getting the word out and helping. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I know we have two more. I think we have Tanya and Catherine that just rejoined. And then there's also Karen saying to Rebecca that her daughter goes to school in Scotland and she would love to connect her with you. So please, let's make sure we connect here. And yeah, so Tanya, let's go with you.
Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, excellent. So this, I've never been on a platform of this sort. I've been vegan for, full disclosure, vegan on and off for almost 2 years, Thanksgiving 2021, Thanksgiving Day. So I won't forget that. And I've not been on a platform of this sort. Catherine invited me. So here I am, and she's also the one that perpetuated the momentum for me to even consider veganism. I've been on and off vegetarian, but I took the plunge and it really wasn't all that difficult. Anything that you want that's, meat-based, you can find that's plant-based, and it's just as good. So, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for hosting this. I hope to learn a lot. I'm a social worker by profession. So I work in a lot of post-acute trauma care. I hope that I can use this as an instruction to sort of, for tone and for active listening and respectful listening, because we can always use those tools, because it's a very charged kind of, environment that I think I would be in for people that are very passionate about what they want to say and do. And it can, get out of control really quickly, I think. So I hope to maybe get some tips from you guys on that. So thanks for hosting this. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Tanya. And one thing I wanted to name, and I'm pretty sure I'm saying it in my presentation anyway, but anytime you feel like an urge or something resonates, or you want to share something, or you want me to elaborate on something, or you want to make sense of something, never be afraid to, there's like the option to raise your hand. If you go in the reactions at the bottom of your screen, and you could just press raise hand. And so I'll see the raised hand, and then I'll be able to address that. And then we could have an ongoing dialogue, because I think it's really, really important that we're able to talk about it, right? And to have discussions about it and understand it deeper. So kind of like to reiterate what Jane was saying, like, I don't want it to be complicated or difficult for you to understand. I actually want to make it really easy, simple, and so that you can take the tools and use it, right? So make sure, never be afraid or shy to just kind of raise that hand. And if you don't know how to raise the hand, you could always just unmute yourself and say, hey, can I ask a question, right? And then we'll go ahead and continue here. So amazing. So now I'm going to share that presentation. And because Catherine, I realized once you put your camera on that you had introduced yourself. So then let me just share the screen here. And I think I'm not going to make it big just because it's freaking me out. And I want to make sure that we could just see it as it is, like this, in the whole PowerPoint presentation. We have already introduced me. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a holistic nutritionist. I am the founder of I Love Balance. I am a mindful communicator, and that training comes from NVC. I'm a very passionate animal rights activist. I've been vegan for over a decade now. And I'm an endorser and ambassador for the Plant-Based Treaty, which we've brought up a few times today, which is awesome. So first, right? Nonviolent communication. What is nonviolent communication, and how do we apply the principles during marches more specifically? Because today we were going to be focusing on our Earth Day March, but this is going to be, you can use this information anywhere and everywhere, and I'll be adding a lot of tidbits along the way, and it's not all March focused. I focus on that more towards the end. Initially, we're going to cover what NVC is really about, right? So what is nonviolent communication? So NVC is a form of thinking and communicating with the goal of making everyone's life more wonderful. So the idea is that there's no right or wrong. We're all unique individuals, and we all have very different needs, right? So example, for some, like myself, community, connection, and shared realities are really important. And for others, it's order, it's respect, right? So we all have, and don't worry, I'll be sharing the needs and all of that so we can get more familiar with that. And so we want to use the needs and feelings charts to deepen our vocabulary and understanding of ourselves and others. Let me just move this a little bit to this side. I'll be listing all of the different vocabulary available to us to express our feelings and underlying needs. I'll be giving examples, and really, I'm sure that we could use an accurate example for every word that I'm going to be naming. And if anything is evoked in you, as I was just mentioning previously, or really resonates and you want to share, this is super encouraged. So please do. All right. So we've done all this already. Boom. So now we have needs categorized with connection, which is something that, you know, a lot of us would feel. And whether it's us or it's someone else, I'm going to name those words right now. And one of the things, let me just, oh, funny, I didn't add that slide. I wanted to say that so bad. So as I go through those needs, because those needs are important and they're relevant to every human on this planet, I want you, as I go through the words, if you please have paper and pen nearby, I would suggest that you actually write down the words and the needs that really, really resonate with you. Like whatever I'm going to name here, if it hits a chord, if your heart goes, either it's because that need is being met, or maybe that need is not being met. So something that I would give as an example for everyone in class right now is grab a sheet, write needs met, needs not met, and then everything that I'm naming, start categorizing them. Are those needs met for you, or are they not met for you? And you could have the in-between where you're not fully sure, right? But I highly, highly suggest you write this down. And again, if you don't have paper right now, or you just want to go with the flow, re-listen to this training after and do the exercise, okay? So we have acceptance, right? The need for acceptance, affection, appreciation, belonging, cooperation, communication, closeness, and that could be with our friends, that could be in a relationship, that could be with our coworkers, community, of course, which we all embrace in our vegan community. Like it's really, really important that we surround ourselves with like-minded people. And someone mentioned that earlier too, right? It's so important for us when we are especially newly vegans to surround ourselves with a community of people that share the same values, right? So that we can uplift ourselves. And so companionship, compassion, consideration, right? Consideration is huge. That's something for me, like that's a need that is so important for me. Like consideration is a need that I've left relationships, right? Because I've decided if I was feeling that I was not having my need for consideration was not being met, I decided that it was not worth it, right? Like it's so important for me. Consistency is extremely important as well for me. Empathy, which is something that we preach, right? We preach empathy for all beings. So it's so important that we meet that need for ourselves, but that we also meet that need for others, right? We're very, very fast on judging others. And we tend to forget that, you know, they don't come from where we come from. Where we've come from, our journey, our past, I mean, it's not in the same space at all. The way that they were raised is not the same way. Their realities, the things that they were shown are not the same way. So, or the same thing. So we have to have empathy. We have to understand these people, right? Have inclusion. And for example, needs that we want met, intimacy, love. Love is huge, right? Love is all we really need. Mutuality, if we operate from love, is what I mean. Mutuality, nurturing, respect, self-respect, safety, security, those are super important. Those are our essential needs that I'm going to rename. Stability, support, to know and be known, to see and to be seen, to understand and to be understood, trust and warmth, those are all needs that we're looking to be met. And as humans, we have different degree of importance that we attach to them. So for example, for someone, communication like myself is super, super important. Like I've realized over time that communication is the foundation of everything, right? That's how I'll be able to get my message across. And as activists, it's so important, right? Because we have really important messages to get across. So for some of those needs are more important and some are less important. Some are met, some are not met. So please take the time to analyze this, right? To understand, because the more you understand this, the more clarity you have, the easier your life will be. And so let's pick some connection needs and go through some examples. So for example, number one, as activists, the need for community is huge. We might not realize it right away, but we could easily feel alone, especially in the beginnings, when we're not yet surrounded with friends that are like minds. So for example, recognizing that, right? It's important that we bring awareness and that we recognize that we have a need for community. Like as humans in general, we're social beings. And it really helps when we are able to surround ourselves with positive people that have the same core values, right? Which is not exploiting or not harming or hurting animals. And so example number two, a passerby walks by and sees the march. So imagine we're in the march right now. They feel angry because their need for consideration is not being met. And again, that's based on their conditioning. So they don't realize that we are being considerate of the animals, and it hurts us when someone else is not, for example. They think to themselves, my Saturday is ruined with all this noise, right? So I've had often conversations like that where we're standing outside of a fur store, for example, and we're using megaphones and it's loud and there's people that live around, right? So there's a lot of stores and there's a lot of people walking by in a public space, but there's also people living around there. So we've had people come down and ask us to tone it down, or they're being disturbed, or they're being, and then the idea behind that is that, you know, keeping it to nonviolent communication is we're not trying to disrupt the peace, right? We're not trying to harm other people. We're not trying to make their day miserable. We really just need to bring awareness for the animals. Like I understand that it's disrupting your Saturday, but the animals, on the other hand, are suffering every single day, right? So sometimes it's just painting the picture a little differently, showing a different perspective for someone to understand that, you know, maybe their needs are important, but the needs of the animals are a little bit potentially more important because they don't have a choice, right? So that's kind of the difference, is just being open to having those conversations with people. So now, say example number three, someone's walking by and they have a need to understand. How can you meet that need in the brief minute that you have to interact? Ensure that you have something. So you have to ensure that you have something ready ahead of time, right? So you want to either give your personal contact, your social media would be already open, for example, like oftentimes. So there's an app that I actually use that's called Hi Hello. So it's just HIHELLO. It's a free app, and you could download that either on your iPhone or on your Android, and you could literally create cards. So rather than have a professional business card that you're giving out on paper, right? Because we want to reduce kind of the impact that we're having on trees as well, you could put it in your phone. So if you have a phone, you can easily have QR codes that are available. So I actually have a work one, a personal one, and an activism one, right? And all of them have different things. Some have like my activism one has a whole bunch of documentaries to watch, my contact information and all that. And it's easy. So most people know how to pull out their camera and use the QR code, right? Or in that app, we could send them an email. Or we could have our Instagram open, our Facebook open, our email open, and be ready to create that extra connection, right? If someone is really interested, like we don't have a lot of time when we're marching, right? We're continuously marching, and we're trying to outreach as many people as possible on the outskirts of the march. And later I address on the suggestions on separating on both sides and a whole bunch of stuff. But at the end of the day, though, you don't have that much time. Every person that you meet during the march is like, you have less than a minute, right? So you have to have a strong impression and be ready, whether that's a business card. I personally, from experience, think that it's more important to grab the other person's information, because when we give our information, the person now has to take further action on their own once we're not there anymore. But if we take their information, then we can easily reach them, right? Like at the end of the day, that's what we want. And we want to grow the movement. And we not only want to be able to outreach people, but we also want to be able to recruit them. Ultimately, we want to recruit people because we want them to join the movement so our movement can grow. And so it's not always the same people that are doing the same thing, right? So as I mentioned, either your social media is already open and then you could add them and send a quick note. So that's something that I do. Oh, I saw that I have a mistake in my vocabulary there. So that's something that I always do, a very quick note. So I'll ask someone, whether that's a march, at an event, anywhere that I have contact with someone, it'll be like, hey, do you have social media? And if they're like, yes, I'm like, can I add you? And then I could either give them my phone. Of course, if there's a level of trust, I give them my phone for them to enter their tag, or I enter it myself. And right away, I send them a message. Like right away, it's like, hey, just letting you know, it was awesome meeting you here today, blah, blah, blah. Let's stay in touch. And then I know where they are. I know, like, I meet so many people on a daily basis that I need to like give myself memory, right? I need to give myself notes. Let me just, I know I'm like talking nonstop. So let me just make sure that no one's got their hand raised. Okay, perfect. I think usually people, when they raise their hand, it's brought to the top. So that would be ideal. Let me look at that chat. Okay, perfect. All right. So, and then of course, and then later when you have more time, you could dig with them and you could recruit, right? Because the thing is as we're marching, we don't have time to get on a half an hour conversation with someone and try to persuade them to go vegan or to take action or to become an activist. Like it takes a little bit more time than like a minute or 30 seconds to get someone, you know, recruited or outreached or interested or curious on wanting to know more information. So just keep in mind, get their contact. I suggest get their contact. Like if you're able to, if you find a system where you're able to get their contact right away, that is key. And, or if you use the Hi Hello app, and you send them right away your information, like you could even send them an email and then you'll have the email stored, right? And then they'll see all of your info that's already attached with documentaries and stuff like that, right? And like, for example, Jenny McQueen uses a card that a lot of us have, and we have all the documentaries on it and everything on it, right? Which is something that we distribute a lot as well. But I've tried to find ways of doing it without having to print things out, right? And so, okay. So needs categorized with physical well-being and honesty. So if you look, right, the physical well-being, this is like the most basic needs that unfortunately not all of us have, right? So if you're here on this call, hopefully you do. So air, food, movement and exercise, rest and sleep, sexual expression, safety, shelter, touch, water. Like it's important to understand that those are like basic physical well-being needs. And if we're not meeting those needs, we have to work on meeting them. If we want to bring more joy into our lives and make our own life more wonderful and help inevitably make other people's lives more wonderful, we have to be able to meet those needs for ourselves. So in brackets, I feel super grateful because all of those needs are met for me. And are they met for you too? And if not, how can we meet them? Right? And in the category of honesty, we have authenticity, integrity, presence. And, you know, as activists, we really need, the more authentic we are, the more integrity we have, the more presence we have, the more we draw in people, the more people want to be like us, right? The less hard it is to have to convince someone to go vegan, because we kind of have it in our aura, right? We're able to kind of show the light. And so what about the physical well-being and honesty needs, right? That we just talked about. So our physical well-being needs are essential needs, as I just mentioned. And yet some of us don't even have access to that. Things like clean water or shelter. But if you are here listening, you do have some privilege, and it's really important that we acknowledge that. You can even speak facts by saying, and that's the beauty with NVC, just to say, the beauty with nonviolent communication is we always want to keep it to facts. We want to make it factual. We're not trying to blame. We're not trying to judge. It's all about facts. And the more we're able to keep things to facts, the easier it'll be to get that message across. So imagine you say, every time you eat meat, she doesn't eat. Speaking of a young girl of color in a third world country, I actually have that flyer. Why? Because we're feeding the animals we breed into existence to kill rather than feed the people that need it. So please help us, right? Sometimes it's really important to just touch on those facts so that people understand, like a lot of us, we care so much about the animals, and that's so important, right? That's 100%. Like I give you my hats off for that, 100%. But at the end of the day, not everyone does. A lot of people care about their health. They care about the environment. They care about how they're contributing, right? What they're paying for and things as such. So we have to really understand what are people's needs, because the more we dig, the more we understand what their needs are, the more we're able to speak the language that they need to hear in order to create change, right? In order to adopt a change. So another great example to choose from is integrity, right? Most people want to believe that they're super integral, yet they don't act in alignment with their core values. So it's important that you believe in them too, okay? Because you could say things like, I know that if you knew what I knew, you would never contribute to that, right? Sometimes we really have to be the people that give hope and that are authentic and honest, and we believe in them. Like we believe that if they knew the information we have, they would never do that, right? And I think that's one of the hardest things when we go vegan is all of our friends and family, like we think that the moment we tell them the facts and everything we know, like boom, they're just all going to magically go vegan. And unfortunately, that's not what happens, because the conditioning is real. That's the biggest thing. It's like we have to align those limiting beliefs, the conditioning that we're all raised with. Let me just look at the chat here real quick. I saw a nice little message here. Yes, very true, 100%. So it's just, we have to really align, right? We have to align that. So now imagine needs categorized with play, peace, and autonomy. So are those needs also met for you? Personally, they are for me, but from a worldly perspective, harmony, peace, and order are not met. So as you can see here in play, we have joy, we have humor, right? In peace, we have beauty, communion, ease, equality, harmony, order, inspiration, peace, obviously, and autonomy. We have choice, freedom, independence, space, spontaneity. And when you think about it, oftentimes, you know, as vegans or as activists, we hear other people talking to us about choice, right? But it's their choice. It's their choice. And oftentimes we come back and we say, but what about the animal, right? And that's the thing is, and if you blame them and you're like, no, like, you know, this is not okay. Like what you're doing is horrible and this and that. If you start blaming them, their garage door goes down. And that's it. They're not going to be receptive. They're not going to hear you anymore. They're only going to feel and listen to the blame and the judgments, and they're not receptive anymore. So it's so important for us to, even if someone plays the card like, yeah, but it's my choice, freedom of choice and all that stuff, and we know that it's not the choice for the animal, like we can just paint a perspective. We don't want to attack them or blame them. We just want to show them, you know, sometimes it's just like, you know, I also thought that. Until I actually visited a farm one day and I realized the animals really don't have a choice. And what's different between them and me, right? Like they have eyes, they have a nose, they have a mouth, they have ears, they can hear, they can feel, they can listen, right? Why are we doing this to them more specifically. Like they wouldn't choose that. Would you choose that? Right? So sometimes it's really the way that we deliver the message and the way that we talk about it, or the way we paint perspectives. And I just want you to think that, like, worst case scenario, the person's garage door goes down and they're not listening anymore and they're not receptive. But best case scenario, we don't attack them, we don't blame, we don't judge. We just think to ourselves, what can I say to get this person to share my reality, which is a need, by the way, right? What can I say to get this person to be on the same page as me? And even if they're not, that's the beauty with NVC, is even if they're not on the same page, we're not going to judge them or blame them or, criticize them or call them names. We're being accepting, because it's nonviolent communication. And the idea is, okay, their conditioning is real. They're defending themselves. They're saying these certain things because of how they were raised, the environment they were brought up in, the things that they were taught, and potentially trying to protect themselves, right? They want to protect themselves. So just at the end of the day, keep in mind the way you say things. This is what we have to practice, right? And always nonviolent communication is about the fact that humans are trying to get their needs met. How are they trying to get them met? That's the difference, right? Depending on their conditioning, depending on their upbringing. Most of us don't know how to meet our needs. We don't even understand it from this concept. So when we start understanding that we have so many needs, and there's such a big list of needs that most of us are trying to meet, depending on order of importance, things start making a little bit more sense. It's like, it's not as personal anymore. It's not like someone's not saying those things to try and hurt us directly. They're saying those things because they're trying to meet their needs. And that's according to how they were raised. So, and it's different for everyone, right? Let me just look at the chat here real quick. Taking a moment to think about it without reactively responding, some things help me as well. Yes, 100%. So I love that, Jennifer. So that's the biggest thing, right? It's like, we have to take, and it's funny, I'm going to cover body language and tone as well. But that's really good, Deb. So at the end of the day, like, our tone, right? If we are acting, if we're screaming, or we're talking loudly, or we're talking in a way that seems condescending, or that seems like, we know it all, we know better. It's like, no, we have to think of, we're trying to share realities. We're trying to be on the same page as the other person, or we're trying to bring them to be on the same page as us, right? And so in order to get them to do that, we have to be nice to them. We have to be empathetic. We have to be kind. We have to be compassionate. We have to understand that they come from a different place, right? They're not where we're at right now. They come from a very different place. How do we bridge that gap, right? And often it's by starting to understand, what needs are they trying to meet? And once we understand that, they feel heard, right? And exactly as Jennifer said, you have to take time to think before responding. Like, the reactive, right? Being like, like just blurting out and being reactive to something is never going to help us. It's always going to probably make things a little more complicated. And so next one here. So more example from above of like needs not being met, right? So example number one, someone's walking by and suddenly they see one of the cruelest signs, right, that we have in the march. And they felt, all of the joy that they felt previously is suddenly taken away, right? They might blame us, or they might understand and share a reality. But we must see this person and give them the resources while being kind, so that they have a good impression of us, right? Because again, exactly as Deb was mentioning, the body language is super important. And that first impression, if someone's on the outskirts of the march and they see all this, and then like all of a sudden it's like, ooh, like their heart is hit because they see one of those signs, about maybe dairy, and they see blood and someone tearing something, they see something traumatic, and like all of the joy that they felt previously is gone, right? So there's two things that can happen. They could be super upset and reactive, which is usually what happens, or they could think to themselves like, holy shoot, like I'm doing that. Like I'm contributing, I'm paying for that. Like I need to know more about this, right? And feel compelled. And so we need to be the activist that comes to the rescue, is aware, sees this, and gives them information and resources, or we take their information so we can continue this discussion later, right? And so an example number 2, an individual sees us and her need for inspiration is met. And we can see her looking because she wants to join in the future. So definitely take her contact. And, you know, sometimes like I've in previous events have taken the liberty to say something like, join us now, like, come, just come. And people like to belong, right? Need, like the need for belonging is actually a need. So when you influence or show other people that they can belong, like come, and you incite them, chances are they might just come. You could give them your sign, right? To make them feel even more important. Like really just think, like lead by example always. And there's always more opportunity than you want to believe. We always have so much more power than you want to believe, 100%. So examples around lack of harmony, order, and peace. So in my personal life, as mentioned above, all of my needs are met. I have harmony in my life with my relationships, myself and my cats. I've created order in my life by being clear with my communication, and I've developed the necessary organizational skills. I have such peace in my own life, peace of mind, peace with my work that I love, the activists that I help. But when we think of the world, all of those needs are not met. The animals we defend don't get any of those luxuries. So my goal and yours is to meet those needs for everyone, for all beings. So let's use this as fuel for justice for all. So the fact that we lack our need for harmony, order, and peace, let's use it as our fuel for justice for all, right? Let's see here. I love this. Chelsea says, there's a great book called Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards. So it's in the chat, everyone, please take note of this. That talks about how to quickly connect with others. Yeah, I love that. Excellent. I don't know if I've read this book, but that's good. I'm gonna make sure that I go read this book. And so the needs categorized with meaning, right? We've got awareness. Awareness is super important. And even just as activists, like, and as humans, we have to bring more awareness in our lives, because the more awareness we have, the less reactive we are, right? The more aware we are, the more we're able to think before we respond. So celebration of life, challenge, clarity, competence, consciousness, contribution. Oh my God, I just saw the time, you guys, and I'm thinking like, whoo, I need to speed up my presentation here. Discovery, efficacy, effectiveness, growth, hope, learning, mourning, participation, purpose, self-expression, right? Think about it. Think about like self-expression is a need. So oftentimes you're at an event, you're at a march, someone's screaming at us, someone's getting upset. Like that's a need for them, right? They want to be heard based on the conditioning that they've experienced, right? And so stimulation to matter, understanding. So examples around meaning, right? And I love that. Yes. So what Chelsea was saying about that book called Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards, she's also on Instagram, and she has a good Instagram, and she does a lot of body language and social cues. So that would be good for all of us to follow. And then I love this. Deb says, we have to put our ego on the back burner. It's about positively influencing, not winning arguments. 100%. That couldn't have been more well said than that. That's it. We're not there to win arguments. We're there to connect with people. And we want, if anything, we want to persuade them. And it's not by trying to win that's going to persuade them. It's by listening to them. It's by empathizing. But let's be aware that during a march, it's kind of hard to do that. So our presence has to be strong, right? The body language, the way that we hold ourselves, the resources that we have available, like we have to have a strategy in place since our time is really limited. So examples around meaning. Someone sees us and they feel compelled to self-express, as I mentioned before, and they scream at us because their needs for effectiveness, according to them, is not being met. So people always have an opinion on how to do it better when they're not in it. Is it worth reacting though? No, simply ignore or smile. So the exact opposite reaction that this person is expecting, and give them a card if they take it as you continue marching. Avoid getting in a half an hour conversation with someone like that. It's not worth your time and energy. Focus on the people that show interest or curiosity, right? So that's another thing. And I'm going to talk about this later as well, where it's really important when I get a little bit more focused on marches, it's really important that we focus on the people that are showing interest or curiosity. And I'll give you an example. I was at an event, maybe, I don't know, a few months ago, and I was at an event every weekend. So let's say one specifically a few months ago, and we were holding a banner outside, and I was helping to hold with the banner because it was pretty heavy. And usually I'm the one doing outreach, but I was watching the others do outreach. And I realized that there was a lot of activists that were trying to stop people that were really avoiding them. And they kept running after people that were being like offensive or that didn't want anything to do with them. So, and in the meantime, the thing with that is just keep in mind is while you're focusing your attention on the people that don't want the information, there was other people walking by that were curious, that were looking in, that were wondering what the heck was going on. And those are the people that we need to address. Those are the people we need to draw in. Those are the people we need to answer those questions they have inside. We need to give them resources. The people that walk by purposely try to avoid looking at us or walking faster. Like, why are we spending our time trying to focus on people that don't want the message? Focus on the people that want the message, right? The people that it actually means something to. So why are we so concerned with needs? Think of it this way. Every single person behaves the way that they do, consciously or subconsciously, to meet their needs, right? It's that simple, okay? Every single person behaves the way that they do, consciously or subconsciously, to meet their needs. Every single person. So never take it personal, number one. If we can understand the needs that people are trying to meet, we can reach them at the level that they are now from their hearts. Knowledge is key, but applied knowledge is even better. Let's give people the information that they so desperately need. And if they don't want it, move on with a smile, right? Yes, I love that. Chelsea's like, this is huge. And I use this all the time, Ray. She says, where focus goes, energy flows. And I talk about this in my Sunday classes all the time, because that's the thing. Why would we focus our energy on something that is not like, it's not positive? There's going to be nothing positive that's going to come out of that. And we do have to be a judge to a certain extent. We do have to be aware and realize like, okay, like, do I spend time here? Or, and you would be surprised. Sometimes some people that come on strong, like someone who's like screaming, sometimes they're going to be the people that I'm going to be like, hey, you're a perfect activist. Come join us. Like, I'll just surprise them. I'm going to snap them out of like, they're like upsettingness and their anger. And I'm just being like, oh my God, you're perfect. Come with us, you know? And they'll be like, oh, and then they're going to stop for the most part because they're so caught off guard, right? And I'm not giving in to the negativity. Like Joseph said, focusing more on positivity, not negativity. So even if someone's trying to give you a gift of negativity, actually, this is something that I learned in my Vipassana meditation, or like 10-day silent courses and retreats. And basically they're explaining that like, the Buddha explains, or he says that the Buddha had someone come into his meditation session and start screaming at him. And the Buddha just smiled and kind of looked at that person and was like, what's happening? Like, are you okay? And then the person was like, trying to blame and criticize. And he was like, you know, I think you need to sit and reflect with us. And the person was like, because he was being treated so calmly and so kindly, he just sat and meditated. And then the Buddha said, you know, a lot of people have gifts. Some gifts will be negative. Some gifts will be positive. If someone comes bearing a negative gift, whether they're screaming or they're trying to put blame or criticize on you, you can choose to accept that gift or not. So don't focus on that. If it's a harming gift, right? If it's not positive, definitely just avoid taking on those gifts and always come down to practicing NVC. And I forget who mentioned it, but we are going to share resources at the end, specifically from the NVC website. There's so many, and the feelings and needs and all the things I'm sharing, you could find actual documents that has everything, and you could work with that. So, okay. So now from here, I am talking about feelings matter too. Okay. We talked about all the needs, but feelings matter too. So feelings are what tells us what needs are not being met and that we're not meeting, but we can focus on those feelings in order to improve it, right? The negative feelings that arise in you or in someone else tells us something, that there are needs not being met and that that's why it's causing such a reaction, right? So how do we meet those needs? We have to start by listening to our feelings, which a lot of us have been taught to just suppress those feelings and like our feelings don't matter, but our feelings matter. Our feelings are teaching us about our needs, right? So going through the feelings list. So I want you to please take the time to write down all of the pleasant feelings that we will going through below that you feel most of the time. So the ones that really speak to you, okay? We're going to go through pleasant and unpleasant feelings, first pleasant and then unpleasant. And I really want you to write down which ones speak to you as I'm going through them. You could also write down a list of the pleasant feelings that you want to feel more often. So if anything, you could have a list and you could be like, this is going to be the pleasant feelings. You could be, I feel those. And then the one like, I want to feel this more, right? And then what action can you take to feel the pleasant needs more often? And that's something that you're going to have to reflect on after this. Okay. So pleasant feelings that we want to evoke in others. We have affectionate, compassionate, friendly, loving, open-hearted, sympathetic, tender, warm. Everyone longs this, including the animals we defend, right? Every single person I know longs this. They want compassion. They want friendliness. We're social beings. We want love. We want open-heartedness, right? Like we all long this. And then engaged, right? The feelings of being engaged, absorbed, alert, curious, engrossed, enchanted, entranced, fascinated, interested, intrigued, involved, spellbound, stimulated. And so just to add on, I'm going to go look at the chat real quick, but just so that you know, all of those feelings that I'm naming, right? Like keep in mind, it's how many of those did you even know or do you use, right? So rarely do we actually use the extensive vocabulary that we have accessible to us to actually describe our feelings. We're always like, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm upset, I'm angry. Like it's always the same limiting vocabulary rather than like really dig to understand. And the thing is the more we get familiar with those needs, with those feelings, then the easier it is for us to understand other people as well and to be able to relate them to their needs. And then when they hear us, they're like, oh, wow, like they feel heard, right? They're like, wow, this person like totally understood what my feelings were. Let me just look at the chat real quick. Oh, I love this. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, thank you so much, everyone. Y'all are awesome. Tanya says, thank you. Useful, inspirational. Oh, no, she has to run, but she'll be back and she can also listen to the recording. Yes, the message is powerful. It's powerful for all of us. And please, as Chelsea wrote in the chat as well, to support the Vegan Earth Day March, right? And trainings like this one. And thanks to a really generous donor, our first $20,000 raised will be matched. So it's like so important for us to be able to get to that amount. And so as I was continuing, so hopeful, right, is almost what I was just reading about. Being hopeful, we were hoping that we're going to get a good match for the donation so that someone could donate 20,000 extra dollars here. That's like a double, right? Expectant, encourage, optimistic. So we need to be the change we wish to see. And enhancing those feelings go a long way, right? Like if you're optimistic and you're hopeful and you're encouraged, like people are going to want to be like you, right? People are going to want to follow in your footsteps. They're going to want to become activists. They're going to want to become vegan, right? Okay, so here, I'm trying like not to go too fast, but I'm also going pretty fast. I'm aware because I'm looking at the time. I'm like, oh my God, my presentation's so much longer than I thought. Okay, so pleasant feelings we want to evoke in others continued. And it's funny because I'm talking about the pleasant feelings, but I can't wait until we get to the unpleasant feelings because that's going to be more relevant, right? And so we have confident, empowered, open, proud, safe, secure. And by feeling this way ourselves, we draw in those people that we need to help the movement, right? We have excited, amazed, animated, ardent, aroused, astonished, dazzled, eager, energetic, enthusiastic, giddy, invigorated, lively, passionate, surprised, vibrant. Like, think about it. How often do you use those words? Like, the more we get familiar with those words, the easier it even is to understand other people, right? And to really pinpoint how they feel. And then they're like amazed. They're like, whoa, like she just literally figured out exactly how I feel. Because you didn't say like, oh, you're sad or you're mad. Or it's like, no, you're literally like, you know, vibrant. Well, wait until we get into the unpleasant feelings. And then we have grateful, appreciative, moved, thankful, touched. And remember that most people, especially when we're marching, are looking at us. So it's really important that we feel that way. We have to feel grateful. We have to feel appreciative, thankful, right? Because people can feel that. And they could really feel it if we feel it. Our energy is contagious. So pleasant feelings when our needs are met continued: inspired, amazed, awed, wondered, joyful, amused, delighted, glad, happy, jubilant, pleased, tickled. Like, come on, it always blows my mind when I'm going through these words. I'm like, wow, I feel so much of this, and yet I never express it, right? Exhilarated, blissful, ecstatic, elated, entrailed, exuberant, radiant, rapturous, trilled, right? And then the last one for the pleasant feelings here is when our needs are met, we've got peaceful, calm, clear-headed, comfortable, centered, content, equanimous, which is a word that comes a lot in Vipassana. We always talk about equanimous just means kind of staying neutral, like not being reactive, right? Fulfilled, mellow, quiet, relaxed, relieved, satisfied, serene, still, tranquil, trusting. And then we have refreshed, enlivened, rejuvenated, renewed, rested, restored, revived. Like, how many of those words do we want to feel? Let's be real. All of those words. So think of all of the positive feelings that we just went through. How often do you feel those feelings? Are you acting like a light being and attracting abundance in your life? Or are you feeling mainly hardship and negativity every day? We will be going through the unpleasant feelings next, and take the time to also write down which words you feel the most. Which unpleasant feelings tend to creep up for you a little too often, right? And so the unpleasant feelings around anger that come up when needs are not met or satisfied. So we have annoyed, aggravated, dismayed, disgruntled, displeased, exasperated, frustrated, impatient, irritated, irked, right? We have angry, enraged, furious, incensed, indignant, irate, livid, outraged, resentful. We have aversion, which is another word we use a lot in Vipassana, because we always talk about how the most how can I say that? The most misery for human and humanity is created by aversions and cravings. It's like the more we focus on the aversions that we have or on the cravings that we have rather than balance, the more we move away from equanimity, the more we move away from homeostasis and balance, right? So animosity, appalled, contempt, disgusted, dislike, hate, horrified, hostile, repulsed, right? Those are all feelings. And here I talk, don't let anger take over. Do no harm, right? So it's super easy to be angry or similar feelings in the kind of world that we currently live in. Why do you feel angry? How do you really feel what needs are not being met? Is your judgment that life is unfair? So homework for after, okay? I suggest you take the time to write down why you think you're angry and what you really want to ensure and what you could do and like how you really want to ensure you don't feel that way anymore. And so write like a whole page. Imagine you write a whole page, just right at the top of your page, angry, and then write all of the things that make you angry, why you actually feel angry, like a whole page of all of the things. And what could you do? What could you do in order to feel less angry? What actions could you take to not feel as angry, right? Really take the time to ask yourself those questions. And so here we have the feelings around being afraid that come up when our needs are not being met or satisfied. So afraid, for example, apprehensive, we dread, foreboding, I don't even know that word, whoops, frightened, mistrustful, panicked, petrified, scared, suspicious, terrified, wary, worried. So as activists, we deal with people that are afraid all the time. They're afraid of the truth, and we're dreading their response. It could be a really vicious circle. So a tip, anytime I'm going to an event, I visualize how I want things to go. I often ask myself, what kind of situation could happen that would be uncomfortable to deal with? And how would my best version handle this situation, right? So you're not trying to predict, you're not trying to like manifest the worst case scenario. You're just thinking, what could happen that would make me feel really uncomfortable? And then it's like, okay, if that happened, how would my best self, the best version of myself, deal with that? What would I do? What kind of actions would I take? How would I talk? What would be my body language? Just reflect on that, right? And it's really going to help you moving up to March Day as well. Okay. So more unpleasant feelings that often arise for others around us that are not equipped to receive our message, or that we feel because of the weight of the world that we're taking on, right? So do you remember the first time that you saw some footage or signs that made you reflect and feel like some of the feelings below? Disquiet, agitated, alarmed, discombobulated, disconcerted, disturbed, perturbed, rattled, restless, shocked, startled, surprised, troubled, turbulent, turmoil, uncomfortable, uneasy, unnerved, unsettled, upset, right? Did you think about it? Like how there's just so many words to describe how we feel. And yet we use such a limited amounts of words. And if you look at just those words and you remember the first time that you saw footage, documentaries, or signs that made you feel some of those feelings, like it's kind of unnerving, right? Like it is destabilizing. So put yourself in those people's shoes for a second, right? Like think about it. The people that are marching, that are looking in, that are probably seeing all these different signs, or, I remember I was at a march once, we had even a truck and we had images, and they were pretty horrifying images. And imagine seeing that, right? Imagine being those people. So we have to be empathetic. Like we have to really, really develop more empathy, because a lot of these people don't even know. It's like their first time seeing this, and they might feel traumatized, right? So like imagine we're the person that's there to make that transition easier, to show them that it's possible, to show them that they don't have to contribute, they don't have to be doing those things, and really they can join us. Right? They can be the light. They can help make this world better. So, so here I have when our needs for connection. Oh, that's my French right there. I just realized I spelled R-A-R-E instead of O-U-R. And I just want to say, I do speak 3 languages, and French is my first language, and sometimes I mess things up. So when our needs for connection are not being met. So disconnected, right? Alienated, aloof, apathetic, bored, cold, detached, distant, distracted, indifferent, numb, removed, uninterested, withdrawn. And, when we're going to be marching, what we want is the exact opposite of that. We want to connect with people. We don't want them to feel all of those feelings here. So what can we do, right? What can we do to create that gap? How can we get people to not feel indifferent or numb, right? To not feel uninterested. So in general, when we've not learned to use nonviolent communication, we tend to disconnect because we're having conversations that matter to us, right? We're still in this old habitual programming that teaches us to react. So have you ever noticed that we tend to fight about how we fight, not really about what we initially started disagreeing with? And so you can see that in your own relationships, or you can see that doing activism. Like quite often we end up fighting because of how we're fighting, right? Because of the things we're saying, not so much because of the reason that started everything in the first place. So say, for example, you're at an event or you're marching, and someone's like, you know, really upset and they're like, no, like this isn't true. This is blah, blah, blah. And then you get more upset and you're like, yes, it's true. And blah, blah, rather than be like, oh, so why do you think this isn't true? Right? The Socratic method, like asking them questions, getting them to come up with their own conclusions could really, really help. But during a march, it's kind of hard to do because we don't want to be like going into full Socratic method questioning as we're doing outreach. We want to establish that quick contact, the quick smile, get their connection, or give them resources, right? It's more like keep going and reach as many people as you can. And so unpleasant feelings continued, that we want to understand how to meet our needs and the other person's needs, right? So embarrassed, ashamed, chagrined, flustered, guilty, mortified, self-conscious. So this could be a reaction from people who realize what they've been paying for. So be empathic, right? There's fatigue, beat, burnt out, depleted, exhausted, lethargic, sleepy, tired, weary, worn out. And we often feel this as activists. It's called compassion fatigue. So it's important that we recognize that and that we take care of ourselves, right? Like I am a big, big believer in, that's the reason I founded I Love Balance, is all about, you know, movement, meditation, proper nutrition, hydration, like taking care of ourselves is so important so that compassion fatigue isn't as hard and doesn't make us like hit rock bottom. Because, you know, we see really hard things with what we do, right? Like we've chosen a path that is not very easy. It's a very hard path because most of the people in this world are not necessarily seeing eye to eye with us yet. Right. So right now it's a little bit harder and we have to take care of ourselves. You have to lead by example and you really have to take care of yourself. Okay. I can't emphasize that enough. On top of learning how to communicate clearly. And oh my God, I just realized the chat. Let me look at this real quick. I like this. Okay. Sally Cohn, emotional correctness makes friends. Ooh, I like that. A big part of the nonviolent communication framework is to address alienated and destructive feelings, not bottle them up or deny them. Exactly, like being empathetic to others and being empathetic towards ourselves, right? Describe them using these pleasant descriptions. I can tell you that you're yes, I love that. So Catherine says, you know, when you're having that conversation with someone, you can say something as simple as, I can tell that you're a compassionate, loyal, dedicated person, right? The more you compliment and connect with the other person, the more chances you have of that person wanting to go out of their way to research more, right? Thank you so much, Farah Mars. I'm not sure which tip it was, but I'll take it. And being amongst other vegans is what helps me to reduce the negative feelings. 100%. I could really feel that, Sandra. Me too. The moment, like in 2016, when I joined my first bearing witness activism, like that changed everything for me. I just started to join every possible spaces of activism so that I could connect with people that are like-minded, right? And it is empowering to be with others who also fight for animals. It's super important. That's why I talk about outreaching, but I also talk about recruitment being like, you know, the end all be all. Like, yes, we want to outreach these people. We want them to go vegan, but on top of that, we want them to become activists, right? And Jennifer says, yeah, Sandra, me too. That's why I love things like this and being online in vegan groups. Same. Yeah, Jennifer, disappointed. Ooh, I'm not sure which one that is about. Taking care of yourselves and also take care of your community 100%. Oh, thank you so much, Joseph. He says he has to jump off, but hopefully he could get the rest. And okay, amazing. Oh, the words I was saying when we feel angry. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And yeah, so at the end of the day, like, again, all of these, oh, I'm doing some corrections here. Vulnerable, fragile, guarded, helpless, insecure, leery, reserved, sensitive, shaky, yearning, envious, jealous, longing, nostalgic, pinning, wishful, like all of these things, right, are, again, those are all words that we tend to forget. And so how many of those painful feelings words have you recognized so far? Do you use most of them to express yourself, or did you write some down to help you start using them more often, to be more accurate when when you're doing your own self-expression, using the right words to describe someone else's pain also makes them feel heard, seen, and understood, and they will be more open to listen to you inevitably. So, for example, feeling things like pain, agony, anguish, bereaved, devastated, grief, heartbroken, hurt, lonely, miserable, regretful, remorse, sad, depressed, dejected, despair, despondent, disappointed, discouraged, disheartened, forlorn, gloomy, heavy-hearted, hopeless, melancholy, unhappy, wrenched. Like, there are so many words to describe unpleasant feelings, and yet so many people don't even know like 1/10 of those, including me when I first started NVC. So why are all these needs and feelings important for us as animal rights activists? So the more open we are to learn, to get familiar with our feelings rather than suppress them, to understand our needs rather than ignore them, and to be accepting that we're all different, we have different needs and feelings, and it's not personal, the faster that we can implement positive change and get through to people, right? And so blaming and judging doesn't help anyone. We only hurt ourselves when we blame and judge others. We preach kindness and compassion for all, yet at times we forget about our fellow humans. The conditioning is real. The way individuals were raised can be so different than us. We must be curious, and we must seek to listen and empathize as we ask questions using the Socratic method. And I actually have a module on the Socratic method that I shaved with the Plant-Based Treaty on their YouTube. So if you want to understand what the Socratic method is more, it's really just about asking questions, right? It's to make sure that people can come to their own conclusions, basically, rather than blame and judge them. Let them come up with their own understanding, right? By asking the right questions. And so how can we use nonviolent communication during marches? So our body language can communicate a lot, and we could learn how to read others. Avoid crossing arms. Having your arms crossed is non-receptive or non-inviting. And we want to be standing tall, all smiles, and leading by example. We want the people looking in to feel compelled to join us, not afraid, right? So be an observant and make it a game, like a challenge, right? So we need to observe, and we need to see who is already curious. We start by handing out information to those who want it. And if we have time, we can catch some people's attention, but not impose on someone who's trying to avoid us, right? We're limited with time to connect with others as we march. So the first impression is key. As mentioned in the last point, we must be super observant. Who is looking at what's going on? How can I make them feel comfortable to take a card from me? Smile, reach out with an arm, inciting to take, saying something like, I urge you to take this card, and research the information on it. It might be the difference that saves your life or someone else's, you know. Sometimes it's just finding, I'm saying that because that resonates for me, but maybe find a key sentence that resonates for you that you could say, handing out a card that's going to compel another human to research further, right? And if you get like a really positive reaction, then boom, you take that person's contact and we make sure we recruit them later. All right. So can I grab someone's attention without scaring them? How can I help snap them out of the matrix in a kind and respectful way? Assume that people are busy and unaware, right? So we don't want to scare them. We don't want to startle them, but we do kind of want to grab their attention, especially if there's a lot of people and not everyone's looking in, because people are very much distracted, right? Oh my God, I have so much left. Okay, let me try to speed this up. Before the march starts, so ensure that you have specific people dedicated to outreach before starting the march. The appointed people will stay on the outskirts of the march as they follow along and distribute information to the public. So I highly suggest to strategically have 2 to 5 people, depending on the volunteers, of course, to position themselves on the other side of the street so that we don't miss anyone who might need the resources that we have. And it's really important to enforce a message of getting everyone to listen to the safety marshals, and also brief to motivate and inspire and ensure that activists are clear on their roles, right? So during the march, if something unpredictable happens, like someone from the outside is getting aggressive with us, just keep in mind that there are usually police officers with the role to maintain the peace that are present surrounding the march to protect us from traffic and others. If a situation arises that is violent towards us, we do not engage, right? It's that simple. We don't engage, don't give them a reason to keep being violent, right? Very rarely does someone just start beating on someone else that doesn't provoke their anger further. So don't look at them, ignore them, and tell a nearby officer so that they can go handle it. Don't let your ego come into play and react to this person. It's not worth your energy nor time. Things will only escalate and it's not necessary. They're just trying to meet their needs whether we understand it or not, right? That's the biggest thing. So always think that however someone's acting, they're just trying to meet their needs. It doesn't mean that we're going to understand it, but they're trying to meet their needs. And so if we could get to the bottom of what those needs are, we're going to be able to connect with them a lot more. Let me just look at the chat really quickly. Hey, can't wait to listen to the recording. Yes, there was lots going on. Kept a handout. Yeah, I love that. I love what Chelsea just said. When I first started studying NVC, I kept a handout that listed all of the emotions and needs in my purse. So helpful. And I actually did the same thing because in NVC, they recommend that. And you have like a little cheat sheet, like as if you were in school or something, right? And put a name to what they're feeling, then you can show that they can relate. And that's so true. Like, that's why we have to get more and more familiar with all of the vocabulary around the feelings and needs, because the more we know, the easier it is for us to relate with them, right? And amazing. Okay, Ray says we'll watch the rest on YouTube. I know, I'm so sorry, y'all. Oh my God, that is so me. That it's like my biggest thing is like, it's gonna take me forever. Okay, so what roles do we need to have that are crucial in our nonviolent communication practice and application? So safety marshals play a super important role, and it's also crucial for them to be aware of who they are being. It can be overwhelming to try and contain a group of people within certain boundaries, but the best option is to be kind to our fellow activists and make clear requests, like, may you please move over this line to stay out of the traffic and avoid getting hurt, right? And, you know, just to give a quick example on that, I was at a march once and there was someone that kept being in the bike lane. And I kept asking this person to please move out of the bike lane. And then at one point, who was an activist, he snapped at me and said, I don't care, like I could be wherever I want. And then I said, you know, we're here representing peace and compassion for all. Why would we want to create accidents in the bike lane for people who are already being friendly with the environment? And so boom, that's it. Like I didn't have to like blame or accuse. I just asked him a question and he thought to himself, yeah, like, why am I being this person, right? So he moved out of the bike lane and then stopped, and then I never had to ask him again. It doesn't always work that way, but it will work a lot more if we're able to speak in these ways, right? If we're able to understand and really connect with others. So here, organizers also play a major role. Obviously, everyone is looking at them for answers and guidance. It's so important to have game face on and make others feel at ease. The organizers need to meet before the march to make sure that they're all on the same page, because arguing and or disagreeing in front of the activists on the day of is not encouraging. We need to lead by positive example. And the reason why I wrote that there is because I have been a part of committee marches in the past where on the day of, people are arguing about how things are supposed to be done when we've already discussed it. So make sure that like you're on the same page with your organizers, with your people before you're there at the day of the march. And again, you could always use the feelings and needs list to help you, right? And so final note and tips. So always give people the benefit of the doubt, all right? Imagine that they're children stuck in adult bodies that have only been taught what they have been taught. All right, that's my trick. I just always assume that they don't even know better, okay? We were lucky along our journeys to be able to come to common sense as activists, right? But not everyone will have that opportunity. So we could be the vegan that people will remember positively and that influences others to make change simply by the way that our aura draws people in. You have a choice every day, just like being vegan. Are you going to choose to run towards the light for all beings and draw in the light around you? Or will you run towards the darkness and attract just that, right? Let's run towards the light. All right, and so me, as I was saying at the beginning, anyway, same introduction, still same person. So I'm gonna skip that slide. And thank you so much for being here, everyone. Oh my God. please, if you can and want, you can join my Mindful Communication membership on Sundays. We also do record everything. We have a full year of Mindful Communication there. And we always, so it's all based on NVC. It's just that people seem to be more receptive to the word mindful rather than violent, because it's always better to lead with positive, right? So I teach 20 minutes of NVC/mindful communication, and then we follow with a stretch for the remainder of the hour, helping us process what we just learned. So email me if it's something that interests you. And other than that, I really hope, oh my God, let me catch up with the chat here. Amazing. I love this. So Faramar said she took this class last fall, Compassionate Communication. The class is funded by the state of California, non-residents. Oh, that's interesting. So you could even go straight to the NVC website, eh? That's awesome. So here's the Facebook profile. I would love to connect, Farmers. I'll connect right after this for sure. Center for Nonviolent. Let me actually click it. Boom. Perfect. Okay. Amazing. And just since I'm still recording right here, let me stop the share for a second. Okay. I have more time. So if anyone has any questions whatsoever, I know this was like a really extensive training. And I hope that you get to watch the recording again and again and again and take some notes and do some homework and just really get to the bottom of everything here. Farah Mars, did you have a question, or you're just giving us a thumbs up in appreciation? I think it was a thumbs up in appreciation. Thumbs up. Excellent. And so, you know, I always say, like, if you have things to share, but I like was going through this so quickly and so fast and realizing like, oh my God, it's taking way more time than I thought. So, for sure, Jake, absolutely. So that's amazing. I hope that you get to rewatch it as well and simmer on it while you sleep, because it's a really good state to be in when we're sleeping, to kind of really reflect on things, right? But that's amazing. So I hope everyone had a fantastic session, and I pretty much finished right on time. I managed it. And so, of course, as mentioned, the recording is there, and please watch it again, pause it, take some notes, right? Like go through those feelings, go through those needs. And if, let me just look at something right here. I'm going to share this really quickly. I'm just going to move this. Give me 5 seconds. Yeah, that's it. So if you just go to nonviolentcommunication.com, you actually have like an entire website here on nonviolent communication. And actually, let me just look at something else, because that's not the one that I was thinking of. I'm going to do this real quick. Oh, you put one, because I look at this NVC.
That one, yep.
Perfect. Okay, phew. I didn't see that link. Okay, excellent. Just because all of the needs that I went through or feelings I went through, they're all there, right? They're available for everyone to see for free, and please use it. Like, again, the more familiar that we get with those feelings, with those needs, the more we understand ourselves, and the more we understand our fellow beings, and the more we can help defend the animals. So just keep that in mind. It's like all tied into one another. I love this. Jennifer says, nice to meet everyone. I look forward to connecting with you. That went by. Sorry. Links, connecting with you. Oh, about the upcoming session on Beyond Sustainability. Oh yeah. What is going on here? When is that? The Beyond Sustainability, why embracing holistic veganism and total liberation is key to mitigating climate change and healing the planet. Ooh, when is that training?
That's on Wednesday.
I'll be doing that one. So yes, everyone is welcome. And that'll kind of be the why behind my motivation for organizing the Vegan Climate March, or Vegan Earth Day March, sorry.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I did want to also mention that I put another link in there to something that's the faux feeling chart. And that's the one that I actually kept in my purse. And it'll list, like, you know, I think I'm feeling angry, but what are the underlying needs?
That's amazing.
It's just incredible. I need to print it out and put it in my purse again, because it's really,
right?
Especially when we're in situations like activism, where maybe we have a quick altercation with somebody and we get really flooded, then we can look at that and be like, okay, I'm not actually angry or annoyed. I'm this is what's happening, and then you can kind of work through it. And then, like you said before, when we understand our feelings better, we can understand other people and their the reason that they do certain things and say certain things.
Yeah,
And
100%.
something I would jump in and add too, because I know when I was first learning about this, I had some questions about, like, you know, other ways of doing things. And I think it's so important to think about, like, what is our goal with what we're doing? Like, there's a time and a place for different types. Like, sometimes in certain protest situations, you're going to be yelling, you're going to take a, you know, a different approach. But like with outreach, with trying to talk to people, you know, and even I think a lot of people get ideas, like there's lots of debates online, and, you know, what might make for good viral social media content is a very different question than what is going to be effective in the moment for the individual I'm talking to. And so it's like, if you have different end goals like that, may lead you to want to use different things in different situations. And so I think, like, this is so helpful for outreach and talking to people, and thinking about, like, how to relate to individuals in the moment, especially.
I agree. But I would say, even like when I'm doing disruptions and going in stores and I've got my megaphone, like, I'm still using NVC. Like, I'm still like, hi to all you wonderful people. Like, please know I'm being factual. I'm not blaming. I'm not judging. So you could still, within nonviolent communication, you could still scream compassionately, right? You don't have to, it doesn't mean because you're using a megaphone or you're disrupting or doing things that are, you know, blocking and intercepting and doing things like that. It's still, like, there's a reason, like, it's pressing, right? Like, our planet is like falling apart. So we have to, like, take quick change and we have to make it effective. But even though we're doing those disruptions and taking it to a whole other level, I think we can still use NVC for the most part.
Definitely. Well, thank you everybody so much for joining us. Thank you, Michelle, so much. This was really wonderful and very helpful, and I'm excited to rewatch it myself.
Such good information.
I wish the full screen would have worked, because it looked a lot better, because we could read better, because it was smaller. But anyway, it is what it is, technology.
Yeah, it was still beautiful. It was a really fun presentation. I love the layout that you chose. I did want to mention a couple of upcoming events. We have a lot going on this week leading up to our big Global Day of Action on Earth Day, which is April 22nd. So on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, 5 UTC, Dr. Sailesh Rao is doing a special presentation for us on animal agriculture's impact on climate change. And he's also going to be talking about so the 5 facts he just came up with for the Olympic organizing team in LA that'll be in 2028. So he's going to be talking about that. In addition, he's going to be talking about food healers. And for those that are organizing a March event, or maybe want to do another event where they're doing food outreach, this is a great opportunity to learn about food healers and how they go about it, the resources that they offer, including recipes, and how they support activists in doing that kind of outreach. So that's on Tuesday. Sorry, that's my puppy. And then on Wednesday evening, Serena's going to be speaking at the Animal Rights Collective Portland virtual meeting. This is a meeting that's open to everybody. We often have people outside of Portland join, especially for the speaker portion. And again, she's going to be talking about beyond sustainability, why embracing holistic veganism and total liberation is key to mitigating climate change and healing the planet. And then obviously be talking a little bit about Vegan Earth Day March. And then on Thursday at in the morning again, or afternoon for some, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 6 UTC. We're doing a city organizer check-in. And this is also a great opportunity to just come and ask questions if you're still interested in adding an event to your city. Again, it doesn't have to be a march. It can be a rally. It can be an outreach event. It could even be an outreach event at another Earth Day event. We just want to have more happening, and the more cities that are involved, the more, impressive it is when we are sending press releases and whatnot to media and getting that media attention. So we want as many cities to join as possible. Lastly, I do want to mention, sorry, dog, if you can hear him scratching, he's like, please. The GoFundMe. We also have a fundraiser on Facebook and Instagram if that's easier. And we have a $20,000 matching grant. All of the money raised goes to supporting the cities, doing ongoing trainings like this. We would love to continue doing trainings throughout the year. promotion, which is, you know, pretty pricey, and other things like that that help support the march, official march, I should say, headquarters march. I don't know how to say it.
Campaign.
The umbrella of all of what we're doing. So thank you again, everybody. Serena, did you want to mention anything before we wrap up?
I think you covered it all. Yeah, we really appreciate this. Again, visit our website, figure out if there's a Vegan Earth Day event near you, and feel free to reach out to either of us if you have any questions or want to discuss what it would take to organize an event.
Are those trainings you mentioned for this week, are they going to be available for those who can't make it?
Yes, all of the trainings, past trainings, and the ones that are coming up will be recorded and put on YouTube. So you can just look up Veggies Do It Better on YouTube. And then we have links in all of our social media. And once it's on YouTube, then I also put a link on the event page itself.
Great.
I want to say, I love that name. Veggies Do It Better. It's so good. It's so good. Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I'm getting on another call now. So have a wonderful day, and let's all have fun for the Vegan Earth Day March. I think we're going to nail it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.